Sure shot, baby!
So, good day everyone. We're here for another episode of the DVD show. So for this afternoon, we have one of the writers and one of the best reporters here in the Philippines, and he just recently covered the 2020 Tokyo Olympics and Japan, and he just recently uh got out of quarantine. So I'm so thankful that you're able to join me here on the DVD show, and I'll now welcome you here, Carlo Pamintuan. Thanks for joining me here on my podcast.
Hi Diego, thank you so much for having me. Alam ko matagal ka nang sumubok to get me on the show, but I'm sorry I didn't have enough time back then, but I'm happy to be here now. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Also, and we're gonna be here to talk about the Olympics, and just came home and you experienced a lot of events and
Mhm.
a lot of milestones for the Philippines. And but first off, I wanted to ask, how have you been doing, like personally, since you said matagal nga yung quarantine and medyo mahirap kasi yun, wala kang gagawin na ng matagal, and
Yeah.
nakakapagod din yung nangyari sa Japan, and you were there for like 2 or 3 weeks. So how have you been doing? And and what are you up to now, since there's no BBA, there's no Gilas?
Right now we're still not allowed to leave our homes. Parang kasama yun dun sa quarantine rules from the government. After you finish your hotel quarantine, you go home and then you just stay there. But it's more comfortable, diba? You have your stuff, you can move around the condo. Yung hotel kasi it wasn't that bad. I mean, of course it's a struggle not to be able to go out, but in terms of just comfort, I mean, you're living in a nice hotel, food's being delivered to your door. Parang wala ka naman hihingin eh. It's
Mm.
just you have to keep yourself occupied for the hours that you'll spend there. But other than that, it wasn't very difficult. I think yung adjustment ko now is how to adjust to lockdowns again, because in Japan, we were in a soft quarantine for the first 14 days of being there. So soft quarantine meant pwede lang kaming mag-travel between the hotel and the IBC, the International
Mm.
Broadcast Center. Hindi kami pwedeng pumunta kahit saan. So we could only buy our food from this family mart right in front of our hotel. That's it. Wala kang ibang pwedeng puntahan. Um, and then in the last 4 days of our stay there, we were allowed to go out kasi parang dahil sa dami ng test, they determined that we weren't positive with COVID. So nakapasyal lang kami, di ba? Parang nakapag-train ka sa Japan, nakakain ka sa labas, tapos parang, and then you dial it back, biglang, okay, dyan ka lang sa bahay, wala kang ibang gagawin. So it's a huge adjustment na parang after being let go, para kaming nakawala sa hawla in those 4 days, enjoying ourselves, seeing a new country, di ba? And then all of a sudden, you're not allowed to do anything. So it's a bit of a struggle. It's a bit of a mental adjustment. But you know what? We're just make the best out of the situation.
Yeah. Since now that yung nga, naninibago ka, kasi pati ako like lockdown ulit. Parang it's like the third edition na of the lockdown. But what have you been doing? Like, have you been watching any shows or sports stuff, like past games? I don't know, because there's really not much happening currently.
Yeah, you juggle around between your Netflix, your WWE Network, your League Pass, your The Zone, 'di ba? Parang ganun na lang eh. Doon na lang iikot eh. You kind of miss the live events, lalo na ngayon na walang NBA, 'di ba? Parang dati kasi when you wake up, at least there's 1 or 2 NBA games that you could look forward to seeing live.
Yeah.
Hindi mo talaga mabibili yung feeling na yun eh, di ba? And then the PBA stopped also. So you're looking for something exciting to watch, and there's not much. Parang, of course, we're all thankful that the Olympics came at a time where we all needed to be inspired and to be entertained. Pero ngayon, wala kasi masyado talaga eh. Parang there's not a lot going on
Yeah,
that,
wala.
that, that you can watch. And PBA is done, NBA is done. Summer league's okay, but it's still just the summer league, diba? Parang hopefully when things get better and PBA goes back to action maybe in a couple of weeks, NBA bumalik tayo ulit dun sa mababawasan na yung time mo to be bored because you have things to look forward to, things to watch.
Yeah, yung PVL din kakatapos na rin. So pati
Yeah.
yung volleyball, wala na rin masyadong to look forward to. And mahirap din like in Lasallian, we do this new thing dahil walang UAAP. Like every week we have a wrap up na parang news bits on the stuff that happened in the week. Pero like these past 2 weeks, parang wala masyadong maisulat rin dun. Kasi before, during Olympics and during pag may NBA or something, madaming nangyayari talaga. Pero now it's kind of hard. I don't know sometimes
Wala,
as
diba?
an editor, I don't know like which will still be read by the audience.
Anong sport yung pwede mong i-present sa kanila na bago that they would, di ba, they would appreciate it. It's very difficult to create content even now, di ba? Parang especially currently, di ba? Kami sa 2OT when we started during the start of the lockdown, kami ni Magu, we started looking back, di ba? Because there was nothing going on. The tendency was to look back on past things, past interviews, whatnot. But then everyone did it also. So at a certain point, mauubos na lahat yung pwede nyong pag-usapan that happened before because napag-usapan na siya eh, di ba? Parang it turned into something that has already been done before. So how do you create conversations where there's nothing live going on and there's nothing to be discussed anymore from what happened? Di ba? Parang it's very difficult right now to create content and to just stay in the groove kasi syempre as you would know, when you are a writer and editor, it takes a lot of practice. You have to always be involved in something, diba, to keep you sharp. And when nothing's going on, parang you go crazy because you want to work, you want to be creative, you want to put out content, but it's challenging. It's really challenging.
Yeah, and yun nga, since you mentioned that you were in the Olympics the last few weeks, magandang pag-usapan yung topic na yun for this episode. So yung first question ko na curious talaga ako is how were you assigned to do the broadcasting in the International Broadcasting Center? Because not everyone has the opportunity to do that especially in the Olympics, one of the biggest sporting events all in the world. And I think you and Sir Seb Sarmenta were the ones from the Philippines that had the big opportunity and chance to represent the country. So what was the process and being selected? And of course, you accepted it and you did well as a commentator, as a reporter for the Philippines, representing the Philippines.
What happens kasi is, kunwari, yung TV5 and Signal, di ba? Our company bought the rights to air the Olympics here in the Philippines. We bought the rights from Dentsu. It's a group called Dentsu. It's a Japanese company. So they had the rights to air it in Asia, I think aside from China and Korea. So lahat ng Asian market, sa kanila dadaan, sa kanila bibili ng rights. So what happens is, the Olympics, meron silang sariling broadcast system. It's called the OBS, Olympic Broadcast System, where they will get the best commentators from all over the world specializing on different sports. But kunwari, badminton, meron silang 2 sets of commentators. Pero 4 courts yun. So, merong 2 courts na walang commentary. And then, yung Denso naman, pag nalaman niya na may Asian competitors dito na kailangan ng mga bumili ng rights sa akin, kailangan niyang lagyan ng commentary, 'di ba? Yung Asian athletes. So, that is where we come in. For me particularly, I did basketball, I did Iran. Yung mga basketball games ng Iran because we were airing there. I did a bit of judo, a bit of wrestling, just to make sure that those were covered. Kasi kunwari yung wrestling, there were 3 mats happening all at the same time. Simultaneous yun. Nagyayari lahat sabay-sabay. Mat A, Mat B, Mat C. And the OBS was only doing 1 mat. So kailangan naming, 'di ba? Kailangan may English commentary yung isa for Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. So doon ako na-assign. Because of their partnership between Denso and TV5, syempre they're confident that Filipino commentators would be okay dun sa English commentary. So dun kami napasok. It was also something I did in 2016 in Rio. So there's a relationship already, and Sir Sev also worked for them in the 2018 Asian Games. So they know who we are, they know what we're capable of. So naging madali lang siguro yung process because may reel na kami sa kanila eh. They already know what we can bring to the table. Of course, aside from basketball and 3x3 and boxing, kaya naman naming mag-venture out to other sports like Sir Sev did a lot of table tennis and badminton and volleyball. I did the fight sports. So it was just that. It was an arrangement between TV5 Signal and Densu. Tapos swerte lang kami na ni Sir Sev na kami yung pinili ng TV5 to represent them.
Yeah. Ano naman yung mga events na talagang you had fun with and yung hindi masyadong napansin din ng Philippines, maybe because we watch like our athletes lang, pero since yun nga you were covering also other sports and from other represented by other countries. Ano yung mga talagang you enjoyed na kunwari yung sport siguro na hindi ka masyadong familiar with, or like ikaw na basketball familiar ka na pero baka yung iba hindi ka ganoon ka familiar with, tas you enjoyed it and you learned a lot from it?
Ako, judo and wrestling for sure. Because the last time I did judo and wrestling was back in the 2016 Rio Olympics. So, ganun katagal. But then, syempre, when you get to know the athletes, you try to figure out more about them. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng pumunta ka lang doon na hindi mo sila kilala, di ba? I mean, you have to do a lot of research. Pinag-uusapan nga namin lagi, parang the Olympics will always push you to become the student again kasi sobrang dami mong babasahin. You'd have to read a lot of stuff. Some of it is available dun sa, they have this system, the commentary information system, that puts in a lot of information about the athletes. But you'll have to dig deep eh. Kailangan mo pa rin maghanap ng mas maraming information about the athletes. So judo and wrestling in particular were very exciting for me kasi di ba, I'm also a huge pro wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So there was this one guy, si Gable Stevenson. Parang sinabi niya na idol niya si Kurt Angle. So parang, di ba, parang that's a story. And then I read up about him. I got to be the commentator for his matches. Tapos nakikita mo na yung progression ng career niya eh, na after you win a gold medal in the Olympics, maybe you'll transition to the UFC, or now he's considering transitioning to the WWE. So yung mga ganung bagay, it's just fun to catch, these athletes starting to build their names. Diba? Parang Ronda Rousey was in the Olympics first. Kurt Angle was in the Olympics first. Ang daming magagaling na athletes that we got to know after their stints in the Olympics, when they transitioned to mainstream sports, MMA or whatnot, or boxing. But it's really nice to get to see them as they're growing, diba? Dun sa younger stage ng career nila.
Yeah, those are really great nga eh. Like nung UAAP, I only covered a bit. Pero kunwari like table tennis, nung UAAP, I needed to research about it also because I wasn't familiar with the players and like the team captain, and magaling nga naman yung Lasal pala nung like they made the Final Four when I was covering it for the Lasallian. Pero nung una, wala talaga akong idea. And when we were writing the article, syempre dapat tama yung name.
Of course.
Ganun.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
it was a great learning experience also as a writer. So for you, even if matagal ka na nga nagsusulat and nagre-report, maganda pa rin kasi nga you got to learn more pa din from these athletes from abroad.
For sure. And it also challenges you mentally eh. Diba? Parang, of course, in the PBA, it all comes naturally. Like, yung history ng mga players, natural na yan eh. You were able to follow them from the UAAP or the NCAA or the ABL or wherever they played in college. So it's natural knowledge for you. But to get to know athletes from scratch, as in wala ka talagang alam, and then all of a sudden you have to present information that is new to the public. So it's a big challenge, diba? It keeps you on your toes, and it's actually fun to get into a situation where you're not comfortable, because it just means you will have to exert more effort on it, diba? And that helps you grow also in your career.
Yeah. So moving on naman to like the games and the sports you were covering. Ano ba yun? Every day ka ba nagko-cover? Like, do you have a sport to cover every day? And how was the whole experience of being there in the International Broadcast Center? Like, was it really tiring na talagang paggabi wala ka na ibang gagawin kung hindi matulog na lang kasi you were working the whole day? How was the whole few weeks that you were there covering the Olympics?
As siguro in the span of 18 days that I was there, competition maybe happened in 16 of the 18 days. I worked maybe 14. So there will be breaks. There will be times na wala kang assignment because wala kang kailangan talagang gawin. And marami naman kami, aside from me and Sir Sev, there were a couple of commentators from the UK. There was one from Singapore, and there were two from Australia. So marami naman kaming magde-divide between the jobs. And then as the days went on, pabawas yung kailangan mong gawin eh. Because sabi ko sa'yo kanina, kunwari yung badminton, it started with 4 courts. And then after the group stage, magiging dalawa na lang yan. So, di ba, mababawasan na yung kailangan mong gawin. But it was very challenging. Kasi nga, ang dami ng pre-work na kailangan mong gawin. For me, for example, in the last 4 days of the Olympics, I had to do wrestling. I had to do one session of wrestling. So that's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day yon. But even if you're just working for 3 hours, the preparation for those 3 hours would be like 4 hours the night before, 5 hours the night before. So it's basically a whole working day, diba? Parang 8 hours, 9 hours ka magtatrabaho, 6 hours to prepare, and then 3 hours to just do that work. There were heavy days also. Parang I remember one particular day na bigla nag-decide yung OBS not to cover a basketball game. So I was doing a session of judo, 3-hour judo session. And then nung patapos na ako, right when I was about to finish, kinatok ako ng producer. Sabi niya, you have to move to this sport, parang women's basketball, Puerto Rico versus Japan, I would say. I think Japan or Nigeria. Now I'm not too sure. Pero parang may mga ganong bagay na mangyayari na yung pinaghandaan mo, natapos mo na, and then all of a sudden something comes out of the blue and you have to figure it out. So buti na lang basketball, yeah, 'di ba? At least you know enough about the sport to talk about it. But ganun talaga eh. You have to be ready. Yeah, that's one of the bigger challenges in covering the Olympics, because you don't know what will land on your lap. At any given time, you will have to, you might be in a situation where you will have to talk about a sport that you don't exactly know. Diba? Parang that's the challenge of it. I mean, hindi ka naman nila itutulak dun sa sport na wala ka talagang alam. Like, they won't push me into sailing. Kasi magkakalat ako eh, di ba? Parang hindi ko pwedeng i-commentate yan. I know nothing about it. But in terms of certain sports that you may not be that familiar with as compared to basketball or 3x3, may opportunities that it will happen. So you'll have to be ready for those eventualities.
Yeah. You also mentioned nga na madaming ang kakaibang nangyari din sa Japan when you were there. Kasi syempre, mayroon pa rin pandemic, hindi pa rin tapos yung COVID-19 na effects. So, I wanted to ask lang, ano yung differences of having the Olympics this year compared to the previous years? And syempre, walang crowd, yun yung obvious. And syempre, yung not all the reporters or the media members can just go to the players siguro like normal competitions or normal tournaments. So for you, ano yung talagang kakaibang difference na talagang really stuck to you, pero you were still able to overcome it and naka-adjust naman kayo lahat in terms of covering the Olympics?
In terms of commentary, I think we all had the same reaction na you had to work more because hindi mo na pwedeng iwanan sa crowd. Diba? Parang sometimes in the biggest moments of a game, you can just let the crowd talk.
Yeah.
Diba? And there's nothing that you can say that would be better than the noise being generated by the fans. Diba? Even us, diba? Tatahimik talaga kami para mapakinggan yung fans. Yeah. Wala nang sumasalo sa'yo eh. Di ba? Parang you can't
yung mga Gilas
feed.
Games.
Oo eh. Di ba? You can't feed off of their energy because they're not there. So, you have to manufacture the energy on your own. Just to give you a picture, in the IBC, we're just in parang small rooms, small recording rooms. Parang maliliit na kwarto lang. Tapos doon lang kami. So, parang it's very different in terms of experiencing the game na nasa harap mo as compared to being, in front of a screen. So your energy, your excitement has to come from yourself. Na kailangan mo siyang i-manufacture, diba? Parang you have to be excited about what you're presenting, because if tinatamad ka dun sa pinapanood mo, then the fans will know it, and the viewers will also not be excited with what they're watching. So you have to keep your energy up. You have to find a way, even without the crowd, to bring the energy, bring the excitement into the match or into the game.
Yeah. So yung magandang unang pag-usapan, syempre, yung gold medal ni Hidilyn Diaz. And I think yung reaction mo, which I didn't hear because I was watching it in a live stream on Twitter, and you weren't like the one commentating there yata. It was someone else. I'm not sure. Baka foreign commentary yun. Pero I think people were saying, you tweeted yata that it was the first time you cried in a broadcast or something. So I think I wanted to ask like what was your what was the whole experience like from the beginning, like before the competition started? Like did you guys know nga na talagang pag nanalo siya kung ano yung mangyayari ganun? Yung Chinese din kasi sobrang galing. Nakala ko talaga mananalo na siya dahil 126 yata yung nabuhat niya. So I wanted to ask like from since you were there kung how was the whole experience like from like the beginning till even post match, like after she won and you guys were still like there as the only like a few Filipinos, like you, Gretchen Ho, and a few others that were there for the Philippines?
The arrangement kasi is between TV5, Signal, and Densu was that if we weren't assigned to do anything for Densu for that particular time, they allowed us to do commentary for TV5.
Oh, okay.
So yung TV5 had a small room dun sa loob ng Densu office where we also had our own commentary booth that we could use pag kailangan ng commentary sa Pilipinas. I didn't actually know that I was covering Hidilyn until like the night before. Sintulog na ako eh. I was sleeping already, and then I got a call maybe 11:30, 12 midnight saying I'll be doing the match. I'll be doing the competitions the next day. Eh sobrang loaded ko nung araw na yon. I think I had a session of judo, and then I had basketball, and then I had that at night. So I think it worked in my favor because I did not get to focus on it too much. Like I kunwari, yun lang yung gagawin ko. I might have, gotten into my head a little bit. Diba? Parang I could have drowned myself in the moment. Na parang, Hidilyn yan, magme-medal yan. Diba? Parang buong Pilipinas, diba? Parang ang daming manunood dyan. So, baka nahirapan pa ako lalo if that was the situation. But actually, I was coming off a basketball game, kakatapos lang, and then I had maybe 10, 15 minutes to prepare for the start of weightlifting. Mabilis lang talaga yung turnaround. So I did not have the opportunity to get nervous or to get to get rattled, to overthink things. So parang it just felt natural to me because as a writer then for ESPN5, I was able to follow naman the career of Heidi even before Rio, and then what she did between Rio and Tokyo nasundan ko rin naman. I watched the entire weightlifting competition sa the last one that she joined. I got to know yung mga kalaban niya. I got to know the process of qualifying. So I was confident I knew enough about weightlifting to be able to present it. Kasi as Sir Sev would often tell me, sabi niya, the trap for some commentators is that they assume that all of the watchers know what they're watching.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang naiintindihan nyo dapat, nanonood kayo eh. Sabi niya, hindi. Dapat as a part of your job, kailangan mo mag-educate. So even the most basic stuff about weightlifting, what's a snatch, what's a clean and jerk, what's the process of sino yung magbubuhat next, kailangan mo lahat i-explain. Because you're also serving a market that's not really that familiar with weightlifting. So yun, I just took it into heart, took it into mind na I needed to explain the process to them. Kung paano mananalo kung paano magko-compete si Heidi, kung paano niya susubukang manalo. And it just worked out. Like I didn't go there expecting to haul a gold medal. Parang that's a thing. Hindi naman ako umupo doon psyching myself out and telling myself that this would be a gold medal. Parang I just enjoyed the moment with the rest of the Filipino fans watching it, and it just so happened that it turned out to be a gold medal.
Yeah. I like that point that you said na yung educating part kasi sometimes then here in my podcast like in the previous episodes kasi nga since like kumare basketball or volleyball I know a great amount of like information or knowledge pero when I talk nga syempre dapat yung mga manunood dapat parang tutulungan mo din sila or kunwari parang you're gonna educate them kasi it's not like they know what I'm talking about like instantly. Maybe some do but not necessarily everyone. That's why I like that point also. And kunwari yung competition or yung finals ni EJ Obiena and Kaloyulo, I think yung TV5 or Signal, yung commentator, parang, I'm not sure who the commentator was, but it was, I think, like someone who's an expert on gymnastics and
Mhm.
pole vaulting. Para yung audience, like me, I'm not that familiar with the rules of both those sports.
Mhm.
Maintindihan ko kung paano yung scoring system and yung paano naging, kumari, fourth si Kaloy or paano naging 11th lang si EJ. So
Yeah.
yun yung magandang point din na napulot ko from what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Kasi kunwari ako, I know nothing about pole vaulting or skateboarding or gymnastics. But if you give me an analyst who knows the sport, then I could work with them. Kasi
Yeah.
yung magiging role namin is ako yung audience na wala akong alam, tatanungin
Yeah.
kita, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Tatanungin kita kung ano yung nangyayari. I'll just set it up, set the table up for you.
Mm.
But if you ask me to do skateboarding on my own, I probably can do it. Like, 'di ba? Parang sure, you can pretend like like sasabihin mo lang yung score or this and that, but you have to know the moves, 'di ba? In skateboarding, you have to know each and every move because it's important not just to the athlete but to the entire skateboarding community, 'di ba? And yun yung sinoservice mo. You're serving that up to the skateboarding community, and when they find out na parang you really don't know what you're talking about, they'll tune you out. So it's important really to have an expert beside you, 'di ba? An analyst that could help the audience learn things about the sport at the same time that you're also learning about the sport. Hindi naman masama to admit that you don't know it, that somebody else knows it better than you. So that's the entire point of having an analyst on the broadcast as well.
Yeah, for sure. Maganda nga yung nangyari nun. Kasi yun, yung may magandang analyst, medyo naintindihan ko na, and like siguro the other listeners and watchers din, on how the sport really goes and
Mhm.
how these certain guys were advancing and how others were not being able to advance anymore to the next round of the competition. So yeah, that's
Mhm.
really great. But then yung kay Hidilyn, I just wanted to get back to the point on
Yeah.
how was the feeling of for you guys as a few people there in Japan and being able to talk to her siguro the day after or like the night of the competition, because syempre first gold medal nga, and I think like numari sa No Dunks yung podcast na basketball, all puro basketball,
Mhm.
na mention din ni Lee Ellis si Hidilyn. So it was such a big thing na parang everyone in the world was really focused and also gave recognition to her as the first person to get a gold medal for the country. So do you think that it helped the other participants in also achieving certain medals like in boxing?
For me kasi hindi ko talaga nakausap si Heidi. Like they were in the Olympic Village, we're in the IBC, and we're literally not allowed to intermingle. Like bawal siya. So I had no opportunity, no chances to talk to her. Siyempre, I mean, gustuhin mo man siyang tawagan on Facebook or whatnot. Maraming gustong kumonek sa kanya, 'di ba? So take a step back, 'di ba? Allow things to marinate. Sila Paolo and Gretchen did a great job of following up on the story. Yung picture ni Paolo went viral, 'di ba? Took a picture of Hidilyn's hands with a gold medal. So I think that both of those talents did a really good job in making sure na mas marami yung makakabasa ng stories. Of course, all of the writers, broadsheets and websites who were all there, all helped out in making sure that the story of Hidilyn was really presented to the Filipino people. But as you said, marami nga ring nakapansin na ibang bansa, 'di ba? Because it's a conversation that I've had a lot of times in the Olympics. When I say that the Philippines has not yet won a medal, they don't believe me. They say, "What? What do you mean no gold medals ever? Like even in boxing?" Parang yun lagi yung tanong nila eh. Parang it doesn't make sense for them that the Philippines, as good as we are in boxing, has never won a gold medal. So for sure, to answer your second question, for sure it had a big psychological effect on the boxers as well, because it gave them the belief na teka, kaya to, 'di ba? Kaya tong games na to. But for me kasi our boxers were elevated by their own performances at the start, because for the people who don't know, yung AIBA, the association, the organization that handles boxing, amateur boxing, was not the one that handled the Tokyo Olympics. Yung Japan organizing committee they had a lot of problems with AIBA, saying may issues about judging, issues about whatnot. Marami silang qualms about AIBA. So what they did was they put up their own commission na sila yung namahala dun sa boxing competitions. So when our boxers started winning, started getting the results that they felt they deserve, dun tumaas yung kumpiyansa nila eh. Hey, this is a level playing field. Hindi tutulad nung Asian Games na imposible talunin yung mga Kazakhstan, yung mga Uzbekistan, di ba? Parang there have been a lot of decisions that did not go the Philippines way throughout the years in boxing. So I think that good start, si Nesty yung nagumpisa, di ba? Nesty fought well, and then Irish fought well, and then Carlo Paalam won. When they started getting those initial victories, tumaas lalo yung kumpiyansa nila because they felt that with that kind of judging, they had a chance. Diba? Parang hindi yung nakakita ka lang ng Russian or nakakita ka lang ng Uzbek, talo ka na agad. May mga ganong may ganong feeling eh, diba? Parang sometimes you feel that you're fighting the opponent and you're also fighting the judges. But of course, as I said, nakatulong yung ginawa ni Heidi, but the boxers also built their own confidence. So it was a combination of the two.
Yeah, and you mentioned nga that galing talaga nung mga boxers natin, and they were able to garner their own medals, and those were really terrific achievements. Pero for you, since yung 3 medalists, they were very impressive, and I personally I didn't know a lot about them entering the Olympics. Like my knowledge on them was pretty shallow until the Olympics, when people were interviewing them more, like previous interviews were coming out, and they were interviewing like the parents of Carlo Paalam before the gold medal match, and these were some stories that you really didn't know before the Olympics, or people didn't get much attention to. So for you, yung 3 boxers, ano yung mga talagang mapipinpoint mo na magandang nangyari throughout the Olympics? Maybe like you can go one each for the 3 of them. What impressed you the most from the 3 medalists?
For me kasi I really got to know the 3 of them during the 2018 Asian Games in Jakarta. Doon ko sila nakilala talaga. Got to hang out with them after their matches. Siyempre kasama ni Sir Ed Picson of ABAP. Yung kay Carlo, everyone knew that he was going to be good. Like even when he was 20 years old in 2018. Tama, di ba? 23 now. He was 20 in 2018. Nung natalo siya doon, he lost to a fighter named was from India, Amir from India, who went on to win the gold medal. Sobrang disappointed kami doon sa decision because we all thought that Carlo Paalam defeated him.
Yeah.
So parang just to see the progression of Carlo as an athlete from that loss, how frustrated he was after that loss. You can add Nesty Petesio to that list because she lost in the round of 16. Her first match in 2018. Lost her first match, which we all thought she won. So parang may mga ganong stories eh. A lot of decisions that did not go their way. And then finally, they got into their groove. For me, the most impressive performance siguro ni Nesty was against Chinese Taipei, si Lin Yuting, because that athlete was so tall, was so good, and I think she was picked by everyone to win the gold medal in that weight category. Pero inaral nila eh. They were able to study what they needed to do. They hired a tremendous Australian coach, si Coach Don Abnett, that gave them a fresh look at things. So it just worked out. It's unfortunate that in 2 tries we were not able to pick up a gold medal, but with these athletes, as young as they are, especially Carlo, you're just confident that at some point, that gold medal will be picked up in boxing by the Philippines. Kasi the program is doing well. It's producing results. It's getting to the grassroots. Kasi Carlo quite literally came from the grassroots program of ABAP. Diba? It was sponsored by PLDT from way back. They found him in Cagayan de Oro. He was a teenager. He was a small young teenager, but already they saw potential in him. So you see that the leaders nung NSA, ng ABAP, they know what kind of talent to look for. Like may mata sila for discovering talent. And now we have a system that can harness that talent and turn it into, Olympic threats, medal threats. So, again, it's unfortunate na hindi pa naka-gold because of course as a boxing fan you always want, the Philippines to do well in terms of boxing, but keep your hopes up for 2024 because there's a lot more, good stuff to expect from the boxing team.
Yeah. How about your personal opinion though? Like for instance, yung kay Nesty, parang medyo controversial yung decision nung gold medal match. And yung kay Umir, it could have gone either way. And maybe it's because the playing style of the guy he was against from the Uzbekistan yata. Parang kahit suntukin mo ng suntukin, parang wala nangyayari sa kanya. Ganun siya ka lakas and katindi. And I wanted to ask lang your opinion on that. And also maybe on Carlo Paalam because others said that he could have won if he didn't get knocked down because he won like the other rounds. Kung hindi nga lang siya na knockdown ng round 1, baka nga nanalo siya by decision pa rin nung gold medal match. So ano yung personal opinion mo naman on those instances na talagang it could have gone either way?
This might be an unpopular opinion, but being Filipino boxing fans, we are a little bit spoiled in terms of how we view boxing dahil lagi tayong Manny Pacquiao. That's our go-to, 'di ba? Parang if it's boxing, it should be Manny Pacquiao. Kung hindi ka exciting, ba't kita papanoorin, 'di ba? That's the only way that we think boxing happens.
Yeah.
So what happened between Nesty and Senna was Senna knew na kung magsusuntukan lang sila na walang depensa sa gitna ng ring, hindi niya tatalunin si Nesty. She had no shot at beating Nesty in an all-out brawl. So what she did was she devised a way to not have to beat her for the minutes of the matchup. Hahatiin ko yung laban. Diba? Parang I will cut the matchup in half. If I can't beat you for the entire 3 rounds, I will beat you at every half of every round and try to convince the judges to score the fight for me. And she did that by hugging. Diba? She smothered Nesty. She made sure that kokonti lang yung exchanges, but that she won many of the exchanges. Was it enough? According to the judges, it was.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you cannot fault her for having a game plan that would work well against an aggressive fighter like Nesty Petesio. Diba? Parang, if nakisama si Senna dun sa gusto ni Nesty, di matatalo siya. Diba? Parang, of course, matatalo siya. Of course, she will lose because mas magaling magpatama si Nesty. Mas makamay, mas aggressive. She knows how to connect on the inside. So what Senna did was she took out all of the things that, favor Nesty. Again, from my end, I still thought that Nesty did enough. I did not see the match live. Okay. It was a rewatch. Hindi ko siya napanood live because I was working. But after watching it, I thought it should have gone to Nesty. But it was a good game plan from the Japanese fighter. Now, for Yumir Marshall and Carlo Paalam, I actually thought that the story was similar.
Okay.
Going into the match kasi against Hizniak, si Yumir had 2 stoppages, right? The first one was via cut. The second one was via knockout. So heading into that match, the judges already had the mentality that he was the puncher. Siya yung knockout artist. Yung kalaban niya would just, be aggressive all throughout, diba? Parang just one direction, move forward, throw punches, absorb punches, not be affected. And just keep moving forward. I thought it would be dangerous if Yumir failed to hurt him because then the aggression of the opponent would shine through. Kasi parang ikaw yung malakas Yumir, di ba? Parang the judge's mentality. I was thinking about it. If you're the stronger fighter, if you knocked out your first 2 opponents and then you did not knock out Hizniak or did not hurt him or did not, open a cut or knock him down or give him a standing 8 count, maybe you're not effective. Maybe what Hizniak is doing is more effective. I think that was the question for that fight. It was very tight, diba? Parang in the first 2 rounds, 3-2 pareho yung judging, and then all of a sudden in the 3rd round, si Ymir was beaten 5-0. And I think si Manny Pacquiao also talked about this. Now if Ymir was smarter in the third round, he would have won that matchup. If hindi na siya nakipagsuntukan talaga, if he tried to step away, tried to avoid draw ball, but it was something that he was not able to do. So yeah, natalo siya, had to just settle for the bronze medal. And then the same thing happened. The same thing happened for Carlo Paalam. If there were no knockdowns, the power punching Yafai would not have won. Kasi they would think that the better tactician, si Carlo Paalam, would be effective kung hindi siya masasaktan. Unfortunately for Carlo, he was knocked down in the first round. Diba? It was a really good combination, 4-punch combination with a nice straight down the middle. Nasaktan talaga siya. Diba? It was a legitimate knockdown, and I think that allowed the judges to favor Yafai in the second round. Kasi nasaktan mo siya eh. So if Carlo now could not hurt you, then hindi namin bibigay yung round sa kanya. Diba? Parang you were able to take the attention of the judges in the first round. And then it was very hard for Carlo Paalam to bounce back in the second. Kasi first nasaktan siya. So it would take you a bit of time to recover from being knocked down. Second, you had to throw away a lot of what you prepared for, because now you're looking to hurt your opponent as compared to just outboxing him. Kasi naisahan ka eh, 'di ba? Parang and now you had to take the attention of the judges back. You had to, be a little more aggressive. And then in the third round, nagpahinga na lang si Yafai. Did not even have to do anything. He knew that he had that match in the bag. And then Carlo was looking for a knockout because that was his only opportunity to win the match after losing the first two rounds. Things like that, sobrang liit man, that would really cost you the gold medal. It's similar to what happened to Ymir in the World Championships in, I'd say, 2019 or 2018 World Championships. He was steamrolling through his opponents, beating them 5-0 or stopping them. And then in the gold medal match, he got a little too aggressive. And then nawalan siya ng balanse. Sakto tinamaan siya ng suntok. He went down. And then that determined the entire fight. Parang it was a flash knockdown, but that determined the entire fight. Ganyan talaga in amateur because it's just 3 rounds, parang there's so much pressure on you not to be knocked down in all of those 3 rounds. So it was still, it was by far the best performance of any boxing team diba, from the Philippines in history. So wala mang gold, it's still something to be celebrated because 2 silver medals and a bronze medal. I mean, even without Hidilyn's gold, that would have been the best performance of the Olympics ever. Diba? Coming from boxing alone. And then you add to that yung gold medal ni Hidilyn. It just takes it over the top.
Yeah, I like how you explained it in a judge's perspective also. Kasi siguro nga yung mga Pinoy, like we always like, pero syempre medyo biased tayo kasi fighters, like they're representing our country. So tinitingnan lang natin rin from a fan's point of view. Pero syempre since nga lahat decision yung 3 matches na yun, you also looked at it from the judge's perspective that others may not be able to, I don't know, consider or analyze in such a way that you did. Because tama nga, parang when you were saying it, I was trying to realize how the match went, and it really made sense on how their opponents were able to topple them. And yun nga, unfortunate lang na talagang pag Olympics kailangan mo mag-antay ng, ngayon 3 years na lang, pero normally 4 years para makabawi at that stage. So sana rin, since bata pa nga sila, they're still able to compete at a high level in the next Olympics. Kasi I think nga, bright nga yung future ng boxing here in the Philippines, and sana rin talagang more medals pa rin in the next Olympics.
At saka about boxing, medyo trap kasi siya eh. So Filipinos really don't watch a lot of amateur boxing to begin with. Hindi tayo nanonood ng amateur boxing. So we're used to how pro boxing is done. Diba? Sobrang alam na natin, kabisado natin yung pro boxing. And then you watch amateur boxing, and then you just assume that the two things are the same. Diba? That's the trap. That is the big trap. For you to say na, ito yung, may opinion ako about this. I know my boxing. But it's actually, one of the 5 matches you would watch this year in amateur boxing. So may difference talaga eh. So until we, learn more about it, diba, follow the boxers a little bit more, So kaya nga parang for me it's really it's on YouTube. Ganun ka basic that like the World Amateur Boxing Championships are aired on YouTube. Diba? Parang if you would want to form a better opinion on it, edi, diba? Parang there's a lot of stuff available on it. Parang it's a challenge for us to figure out more about the sport. Parang weightlifting noong 2016, because before Heidi we knew nothing about weightlifting. Diba? Absolutely nothing. Zero. We had no knowledge about weightlifting and weightlifters and who are the best in the world and what are world records. But she forced us to study weightlifting. Now I am hoping that the boxers, the amateur boxers, because of their good performance, will also force, casuals or even journalists like myself to invest more, to learn more about the sport, more about the athletes na nakakalaban nila, more about the program. So aside from the support that is, surely going to come in for our boxers, for our athletes, I hope the knowledge, the discourse is also elevated in their particular sports.
Yeah, for sure. Ako rin, wala rin akong masyadong alam nga sa amateur boxing. Like for instance, nanibago ko nung fight ni Casimiro nung Sunday, like, 12 rounds na naman pala to. Para nung Olympics kasi all the matches you were watching are only 3 rounds, and then lang 12 rounds, parang ang tagal-tagal, and then yun nga, parang ang daming comments pa na pangit nung fight because they weren't punching each other. So yung amateur and pro boxing, talagang malaki yung difference. Like as of this recording, Pacquiao's gonna fight like on Sunday. So iba na naman, 12 rounds na naman ulit. So yung rules din, I think iba, like nung kay Nesty, I didn't know that the ref can't go in the middle and separate them. Kasi normally in pro boxing, like when you watch like kahit anong weight division, the ref can separate the two fighters. Pero yun pala sa women's boxing sa Olympics, hindi pala pwede yun. Kaya yung sa Japan, yung Japanese fighter and Nesty, nagyayakapan sila. Wala talagang magawa yung ref except sumigaw. Pero hindi nga sila nakikinig nung ibang times. Kaya the time was just running. And nag-work nga yung tactic na sinasabi mo kanina.
Yeah, in amateur boxing, they will give you a lot more leeway to fight out of a clinch as compared to boxing. Kasi in professional boxing, their priority would be the entertainment side of it. Because it's pro, di ba? Professional yan eh. So, importante sa kanila that there are a lot of people watching, that the fight is happening at a pace that would be enjoyable for the fans, well, as much as it can be. So, pag nagka-clinch, hihiwalay agad na referee so they can re-engage again. In amateur, it's a little bit different because it's amateur. It's not it's not meant to generate as much money as the pros. So they're given a little bit more leeway in terms of clinching, in terms of hugging. Pipilitin ka ng referee to try and fight your way out of it instead of stepping in and breaking it up for you. So that's just some of the intricacies, the little difference between amateur and boxing that really makes it like a different sport altogether. Parang ibang sport halos yung pinapanood mo when you're watching amateurs versus the pros.
Oo nga. Kaya like nung pre-game and post-game show sa One Sports ba yun na si Attorney Ed Tolentino or sila Sir Ed Picson when they were explaining the amateur boxing or like the fighters that for the Filipinos and the opponent. Parang I was learning also from them kasi I had little to no knowledge on these fighters and also some of the rules that were happening during the whole Olympics. So it's a really great learning experience then for the fans and also the journalists. Pero moving on to the other athletes that participated for the Philippines, and madami ring impressive performances like sila Marjeline Dudal, EJ Obiena, Kaloyulo, sila Yuka Saso. They didn't garner a medal or didn't capture a medal, pero they were still able to make like the finals or have a high placing in the Olympics. For you, sino yung mga nag-stand out talaga na ibang Filipino athletes, and what impressed you the most, and siguro the bright future ahead for them? Because a lot of our athletes or all of them are young pa talaga, and meron pang mga 1 or 2 more Olympics that they could compete in and finally get a medal eventually.
I think Kaloy finishing 4th dun sa vault was something that excited a lot of people because hindi nga yun yung pet niya, di ba? That's floor was supposed to be where he was, he was going to be a medal challenger, but he did well enough to finish 4th in the vault. Pero for me, what Marjeline Didal showed, yun yung Olympic spirit, di ba? Parang yes, we're competing against each other, but I don't want you to not do well, diba? Parang I want you to be at your best. I want myself to be at my best. And then who's ever best would have the better score. Siya yung mananalo ng gold medal. I think it just spoke volumes of first Marjorie Didal as an athlete, an ambassador for skateboarding. Second, it's just about the skateboarding community na parang ano sila eh. It's really a group. It's really a tight-knit group and they pull for each other. They might be competing for Olympic medals but at the end of the day, they're representing the same lifestyle. Kaya nga sobrang dumami yung fans niya even from Brazil, 'di ba? Kasi parang lahat hina-hype niya eh. Lahat sineselebrate niya. She wasn't able to perform, to the best of her abilities, which was unfortunate. But for her, it was only a part of the Olympic experience. The other part of it was celebrating the victories of your fellow skateboarders. Diba? Parang sure it's nice to have medal, but she got to experience the Olympic Games. So that's the first ever time that skateboarding, was included as a real Olympic event, and she was there. And she was able to represent well, and she became a meme, and she became, someone na nilagay ng mga tao sa mga Facebook profiles nila. So for me, that was a highly encouraging stint for the Olympics kay Margie. And sila talaga sila ni Carlo among the non-medalists, really looking forward to, to them competing, not just in the Olympics, but the run up to the Olympics. What will they do from now up until, the qualifiers for 2023? Yun yung magandang abangan because there's just so much more that they could do, that they can accomplish with their respective sports.
Yeah, sayang ngayon kay Margie kasi nga na-injure siya. Pero ang gusto ko pa rin yung palaging nakangiti, like kahit anong mangyari, parang good vibes lang siya. And syempre alam niyan deep inside na sayang, natalo siya, na-injure siya. Pero she gives off those that good vibes that others can really learn from. And yung mga quotes rin yan that I think I shared one pa nga on Instagram. I forgot lang what it was. Pero maganda yung parang aura and like yung expression niya to other people that idolize her. And it's also a great way for audience to learn from her and get inspired by her story and her career. Yep. Tapos si Kaloy naman ay sayang lang talaga kasi I think yung second attempt niya yun pa yung best among all the competitors. So kung yung first attempt di lang siya nadulas dun sa landing niya, more naka 3.7 siguro siya or high na 3.69 ganun. Baka sayang naka-bronze siya at least. Or I don't know, even better. Kasi natakot nga yata or nagulat yung mga kalaban niya. Like, di ba nagsuselebrate na yung South Korea or something. I mean, nanalo nga siya. Pero nung si Kaloy na kasi last si Kaloy, biglang parang kinabahan sila because they didn't know siguro nga na ganun kagaling rin pala siya sa vault. Kasi you mentioned, floor exercise yung talagang best niya. Where I think he won a gold in the World Championships.
Kaya parang it's really... is something to be excited about. Kasi, di ba, parang if floor yung expertise niya and then he does well enough involved, na pwede pala, di ba, pwede pala yun, na he can branch out and also be competitive in that area. So, he's still so young and there's so much to be excited about because, Kalo is getting a lot of support, di ba, from the PSC, the POC, MVP Sports Foundation is also helping fund his stint in Japan. So, as long as he's there and he's getting the proper training, he should be a future Olympic medalist. Parang it's all but a guarantee for me. 2023, Carlo Paalam and Kaloyulo will be medalist for me.
Yeah, Noli Yala also, I think he guaranteed it. Like after the 4th place, sabi niya, but next Olympics for sure medalist na yan. And hindi lang isa, parang feeling nga niya kaya siguro sa vault, kaya sa floor. And I guess since nga na-injured din siya bago yung competition, it affected his difficulty ata. Parang he couldn't do a higher difficulty even if yung training niya kinakaya niya. And sana lang talaga healthy siya for the next competitions and hanggang sa Olympics. Parang he's able to still compete at a high level. Kasi yung potential niya talaga nga si Simon. Sobrang laki and he can really garner multiple medals over the course of his young career pa.
Yep, that's true.
Then yung isa pong magandang pag-usapan is yung tweet mo yata na about stereotype in sports, and I think it went viral also, and a lot of my friends, like I think one of my friends is a national athlete din kasi, and she shared it, and like my other friends also, I think they sent me screenshots of tweet that yun nga, I like what you said there. Can you talk about like how you were able to think about that tweet, and did you expect it to actually go viral? Because I really like the how you phrased it and how you were able to make the others read and understand the tweet, because I also believe on that statement that you put on Twitter.
No idea that it would go viral. To be honest, like it was a random day that I think si Kaloy yata yung nagko-compete nun if I'm not mistaken. I think Kaloy was competing then. It's just something that I said. I say a lot of things on Twitter, and none of it has ever gone viral. So parang it was something that I didn't expect to go viral. So nung message na ako nung ilang friends na tinatag na ako on Facebook, like someone shared it on Facebook. I didn't kasi parang sa akin pag Twitter lang yan. I mean, I don't cross the platforms. Parang I won't screenshot my own tweet and post it on Facebook. Parang hindi ako ganoon. Parang if we're on Twitter, we talk about things, that's enough for me. But I'm happy that it resonated. I'm happy that a lot of people agreed. Kasi it's still meron pa ring mga haters na wala naman Parang hindi naman totoo yan But if you ask, a lot of parents, especially the older parents, na parang if you had a son and he said that he wanted to try gymnastics, 'di ba? Or ballet for that matter, or whatever, 'di ba? Parang madalas they will put an end to it immediately and say that pambabae yan or huwag ka mag-basketball kasi panglalaki yan Mag-volleyball ka, babae, volleyball, sumisikat, 'di ba? Parang ganoon. Parang we have preconceived decisions already with these things. But yung katuloy ng tweet na yon, I also said that Hidilyn and Kaloy and Margie, they were one no away from not being Olympians. Diba?
Yeah,
parang
for sure.
if it was stopped early, diba? If sinabi ng nanay at tatay ni Hidilyn, ba't ka magbubuhat? Hindi ka tatangkad. Diba? Parang, ba't ka magbubuhat? Ba't ka weightlifter? Panglalaki lang magbuhat. Diba? If they were not open-minded enough to not just allow her to pursue, but help her pursue weightlifting, then we would not have been celebrating a gold medal. So imagine how many dreams, how many Olympic medalists we could have had if parents were open enough to support their kids without question. Parang those are the limitations of the time before. Siyempre, ganun talaga we evolve as people. So now we're slowly figuring things out, and we've come to the point na we can just accept na walang panglalaki tsaka walang pambabae. Parang it's sport. Anyone can do anything if they're passionate enough about it, if they work hard enough about it, they can become Olympians, whatever sport that may be. So that was the entire thing. Parang, I didn't even think it was that special to be honest. Parang medyo nagulat ako dun sa shares ng mga ibang nagkumuha on Facebook. And then people started also sharing with me parang mga nag-paraphrase. Diba? Parang tapos bigla sa kanila na yung thought. Parang ako okay lang yan. Parang nagagalit pa yung mga ibang friends ko about it. Na parang sabihin mo na sa'yo
plagiarism.
sabihin mo na sa'yo yan. Parang akin naman, it's not a matter of me, getting famous or getting clout for it. For me, if they wanted to echo the message, then that's the entire point of it. I mean, I tweeted it because I wanted the idea out. Diba? So kung gusto mong i-paraphrase and add to it and whatnot, go right ahead. If it will reach more people, if it would convince more parents to support their children, not just in sports, but in on multiple things that they want to accomplish, go ahead. Parang it's not an original idea coming from me. Diba? Parang I just put it into words, put it into a tweet, but it's something that should be read by a lot more people.
Yeah, I agree talaga kasi yung lalo na sa sports, feeling ko talaga yung pag yung anak mo tapos pinag-try mo ng sports, marami rin sila natututunan na hindi natututo pag hindi sila nagsa-sports, like yung mga teamwork, yung mga values of teamwork, hard work, yung mga determination, yung mga grit, ganun. Parang hindi mo matututunan yun na you're gonna sermonin mo lang sila or kakausapin mo lang sila. Parang they need to really experience it in order to like yung practice talaga, kailangan mo yung practice sa life mo para ma-apply mo talaga siya sa future mo or gusto mo matuto rin to other people. Like you want to teach them also how to be hardworking, how to be selfless. You also need to experience it, and you can't just keep saying it because how will they believe you if you didn't even experience it or you don't have a story to back it up. So that's really great. And for instance, si Dwight Ramos, he was my guest like 2 weeks ago lang. He mentioned that in the US, he tried so many sports before he loved basketball. So you never know talaga if you don't try it. So dapat sa kanya, parang his parents made him try everything. Yung iba, hindi talaga nagustuhan. Kahit siguro magaling siya or he could have also excelled because yung skill level niya mataas. Pero if you're not having fun and you're not learning lessons na ma-apply mo rin sa other aspects of your life, why even do it? So I think that's why you need to give them the opportunity to try it out. Kasi yun nga, you never know. Pag nag-know ka na, paano kung naging ganun ka, yung anak mo pala pwedeng maging medalist sana or mag-excel talaga sa sport na yun. Kaya I really love that tweet the tweet that you posted because it all made sense and people were like, ganun nga, no? Parang hindi nila na-realize kung hindi mo na-tweet. Parang gano'n.
No, thanks for again. I had no intention of being viral or whatnot. I just put it out there, and I'm happy it resonated. I'm happy it reached a lot of people, and hopefully it convinced people like to support not just their kids but everyone. Diba? Parang if one of your friends wants to be a streamer, diba? Parang gusto niya maglaro ng Mobile Legends for a living, diba? Parang ano ba naman yung suportahan mo, di ba? It doesn't cost anything to offer up your support. And it's something that we should, be doing. We should be pulling for each other. It's that simple, really.
Yeah, like now, yun nga, yung mga YouTubers, parang yung mga occupation na ganun, dati hindi naman uso yun. Ngayon lang na uso yung mga ganun. So, pero you never know, paano pag yumaman pala sila and they're able to provide for their family and they're happy. So, give them the chance to actually try it. Pero yung isa pang magandang point pala that I wanted to ask was, yun nga, since yung mga successful athletes in the Olympics, lahat sila parang individual sports, hindi yung mga team sports like yung basketball, volleyball, football. Those weren't the sports where the Philippines excelled in. So what's your thoughts on having those sports excel here in the Philippines and maybe also the support that they should also get because the Philippines are excelling in those sports. Pero as you know din naman, the supports also, a lot of them are for basketball, volleyball, and football. So what are your thoughts on also giving more focus on the sports like boxing, weightlifting, skateboarding, gymnastics, etc.?
For me, it's two different things. Kasi when you support basketball, you support it due to passion, you support it due to just enjoyment. Kasi yun talaga yung papanoorin ng Pilipino, eh, 'di ba? Parang if Gilas Pilipinas ever makes it to the Olympics, we will never expect for them to win a gold medal.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang it's just
USA's
not a reality. It's not a reality, but being there would be a huge victory already for the Philippine basketball community. So I really hate it when people say na, hindi, wag niyo na suportahan yung basketball, nagsasayang kayo ng pera diyan eh. Lagay niyo na lang lahat ng pera niyo dito sa ibang athletes. For me, hindi mo kailangang basagin yung trip ng isa para masuportahan yung isa, di ba? Parang now we know that weightlifters should be supported, boxers should be supported, even individual athletes na sila lang talaga yung gumagawa sa Pilipinas, a gymnast like Kaloy Yulo, pole vaulter like EJ Obiena. I think that as long as there are companies that are willing to invest money in supporting these athletes, may future naman talaga eh. It's just a matter of getting the right combination of things. I like how Hidilyn put it into words na she figured out that hindi enough yung training lang, yung puro buhat lang. There had to be a lot of science behind it. There had to be a lot of psychology behind it. Had to be a lot of nutrition behind it. So when she figured these things out, then she became an Olympic gold medalist. So if we do that, if we take the learnings from Heidi and then put it in such a way that it would reach a lot of individually talented Filipino athletes, then we could produce more gold medals in the future. Parang ganun lang naman kasimple sa akin. Pero wag niyo nang pagtripan yung basketball, wag niyo nang basagin yung volleyball because in the Philippines, walang manonood ng amateur boxing if it's just
That's why.
amateur boxing between Filipinos, 'di ba? It's just I'm just stating that as a matter of fact. We don't have enough really good amateur boxers to compete amongst themselves. So until they compete outside the country, hindi mo talaga sila mapapanood as compared to the PBA, to volleyball, na mayroon talagang entertainment factor that it could generate its own money. While you put money into it, it also generates its own money because a lot of people pay attention to it. That's like saying that Filipinos should not watch basketball anymore. Di ba? Parang, bakit? Parang, dahil hindi ka mananalo ng Olympic gold, it doesn't make sense. Di ba? Parang you as Filipinos, we watch basketball, we watch volleyball because we enjoy it. So withdrawing your support for that and putting it into another sport doesn't make sense for me. But if there are more supporters that would pool money together, and it's already something that was broached by boss MVP, the Manny V. Pangilinan. Sabi niya, maybe we should start a group, parang Philippine Business for Sports Development, na every year, companies like Smart or PLDT and San Miguel Group and whatnot can pool money together and just supplement kung ano yung binibigay ng Philippine Sports Commission to give our athletes better training abroad, maybe build them a better training area here in the Philippines. So something like that. It would take collective effort from a lot of people to make sure that we have a performance as good or hopefully even better for Paris.
Yeah, and I think yung performance ngayon, talagang yung mga people like sila MVP and yung mga PSC, they'll be more motivated to support kasi nga talagang successful na tayo across various sports. So sa next Olympics, parang yung support nila hindi lang magiging dun sa prize or reward pero also dun sa preparation and practice. Kasi yun yung talagang important. Like Hidilyn was posting in 2019 yata that she wanted more help. She needed more help in preparation for these Olympics. And si Yumir, 'di ba, nagka-issue pa yun na humingi pa siya ng pera gano'n, tapos tinulungan siya ni 30, I think, for some people that actually helped him. So I think this performance will also give a great indicator for others that can help, that they should be able to be more motivated and inspire to help the other athletes because they could be successful naman pala, and kahit di sila unknown, kung tumulong ka, baka ikaw pa yung maging dahilan kung paano nga sila maging known and excel sa sport nila. Kasi talagang any sport na gusto mong gumaling, you really need the support and you need to be able to do something extraordinary in order to succeed that your opponents don't do.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So moving on, I just wanted to ask your thoughts a bit since like we both love basketball. Like yun nga, I've been in your 2OT podcast, the mga fans night like twice, and now you're here in my podcast that a lot of basketball guests have also joined me here. So I wanted to ask your thoughts on the men's basketball in the Olympics and how USA was able to topple France in the gold medal match. Because I honestly thought that there was a chance USA weren't gonna win. Pero yun nga, nung nanalo sila, parang sila Durant, sila Draymond, they were saying na si Perkins, American ka, hindi mo kami sinusupport. Nanalo yung France or yung Australia or yung Spain or yung Slovenia, parang you had other opinions na you really doubted the chances of USA to make it to the gold medal and win it. So for you, what was your own assessment of the whole men's basketball tournament na 5-5?
Feeling ko gano'n naman lagi. It will always be the United States winning it unless they send a team that wasn't prepared. Parang the talent disparity is just so wide between the United States and everyone else. Diba? Parang sure, Nigeria has this many NBA players. Sure, France had what, 6, 7 NBA players?
Madami.
Yes, but they're NBA players. You're talking about 10 All-Stars in the US team. Diba? Parang the talent level is just really so far. And para sa akin kasi, it's also a trap that when the US loses a game here and there, the reaction is magnified so much. Diba? Parang natalo ka ng you lose a practice game against
Nigeria.
whichever team in a competition that doesn't matter. It just ang daming hot takes agad, But at the end of the day, they're just too talented for the rest of the world to figure out. I mean, even even without some of the best players, 'di ba? Parang wala ka pang Curry diyan, wala ka pang 'di ba, LeBron's obviously not there anymore. But even without those stars, it's still too good. I mean, walang masyadong opinion dapat sa 5-on-5 basketball because that's still, something that the US will continue to win as long as they put together a good team.
Yeah, yun nga, sayang kasi nung una kala ko baka matalo sila kasi hindi sila makashoot ng threes noon. Tapos yung defense nila medyo kalat nung first games at saka nung practice games. Tapos makikita mo may system like Slovenia, France, Australia. They have a system that they've been practicing for numerous years already. So I thought na yun nga, 12 players na sobrang talented, may chance ka to topple them or to beat them with your system. Pero I don't know where I heard it na parang yung talent, there's a certain level of talent na talagang pag masyadong mataas na, kahit anong gawin mo, hindi mo matatalo yun.
Yep,
So, it's like these 12 players. I'm pretty sure some of them also wouldn't have joined if they won the World Cup. So, it was a motivation for them to actually not lose this World Cup. Like Durant, pagod na si Durant sa Brooklyn nung Milwaukee series. Wala na si James and Kyrie. Pero pumunta pa rin siya dito kasi nga, siguro gusto niya talaga manalo ng gold and talagang sa Olympics, iba yung laro ni KD, parang nasa NBA pa rin siya. So I think that's why maybe they were very motivated to win it. And sayang lang because I was rooting for any other country actually but them to win it. Parang maiba naman. Mahilig ako sa ganun eh. Parang maiba naman kasi ang lakas nila. Parang ganun.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, kami ni Sir Seb nakapanood kami ng game Slovenia versus France. For the right to challenge the US in the final. Yun yung napanood namin na game. So we were both saying na Slovenia can beat France. But France had a better shot against the US.
For sure.
Kasi yung ball dominant heavy use ni Luka.
Hindi pwede sa US.
Hindi pwede. Kasi sobrang daming defenders yung pwede nilang ibigay sa kanya na at some point mapapagod ka lang talaga kahit gaano kagaling.
What were your thoughts though on Luka? Because I heard in JJ Redick's podcast na he was discussing with his co-host yung si Tommy Alter na he thinks Luka's now the best player in the world or something after the Olympics competition. And you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, so I wanted to ask lang your thoughts because yun nga, he scored 48 in that other game and pinahinga na siya dahil tambak na. Pero ang galing talaga niya the whole Olympics. I think except the bronze medal match where Patty Mills exploded for 42. What are your thoughts on Luka? Because Slovenia was the team I wanted to actually win. Because parang yung system nila perfect, hindi ko kilala yung players except Zoran Dragic and Luka. Tapos, ang gagaling, like si Kobe, yung big man, naka 20 plus yata against France nung Final Four game. So, ikaw, what are your thoughts on Luka and his whole Dallas Mavericks team?
If he was the best player in the NBA, then why weren't they in the finals or in the Western Conference finals at least? Diba parang it's easy to jump in the bandwagon and say he's so good, he's this and that. But until you actually turn it into something, then you're not. Diba? Parang no one would call LeBron the best if he didn't win a championship or Durant or Giannis. Diba? Parang it still has to be proven on the court. I mean, he does a lot of great things. No doubt. The talent is certainly there. I was actually surprised of how much he complained, like in the Olympics, because if you see him, not even that, parang lahat ng dead ball may aangal si Luka. Oo, parang I think it's in his head a little bit already that he deserves the calls because he's one of the best players in the entire planet. Pero hindi pa ganun yung respeto sa kanya ng officials and even his other opponents as well. But will it get there? I think in time. Pero may nagtanong na rin sa akin na parang as a Dallas fan, sabi niya, if manalo si Luka ng 2 championships, will he be better than Dirk? Sabi ko, I personally, no. I don't care what he does. Diba? Wala akong pakialam kahit maka 8 kang championship. Iba yung I mean, my age, growing up as a fan of the Dallas Mavericks. You just like everyone in the Jordan era would say Jordan's the GOAT. No one would say LeBron. Some people would say Kobe, but everyone that grew up watching Michael Jordan would always say that he's the best player they've ever seen because doon na mo-mold yung ano mo doon na mo-mold yung 'di ba, yung identity mo as a basketball fan. So I'm hopeful that Luka can one day be the best player in the entire planet, and that the Mavs surround him with people who can actually help him win games and not just stand around and do nothing.
Yeah, yung free agency ngayon, wala silang nakuha eh. Yun nga yung mahirap sa kanila. Like, as a Dallas fan, siguro baka maalala mo, pero yung biggest free agent signing nila na hindi pa nag-workout, si Chandler Parsons pa yata. Ang tagal-tagal na nun. They signed him to a max contract.
And the entire deal with DeAndre Jordan was annoying as hell. Yung pipirma na siya, tapos biglang nag-back out at the last moment, tapos biglang the next year nag-join. I hated that guy.
Yeah, yun yung magulo. And I think, I don't know kung ano yung dahilan, pero sabi, I think, I listen to a lot of podcasts and shows kasi they tried to get Lowry daw, naunahan lang sila ng Heat. And I don't know, it's disappointing lang kasi nga, siguro si Luka ilang years na. But he signed the extension yata na Supermax, so okay lang. Pero if the support system's kind of, I don't know, not that good, like it's not excellent, it's kind of tough for him also to win. And tama ka, yun nga, I really like Luka. Like, he's not my favorite player talaga in the league because I'm a Celtics fan din. So, syempre si Tatum yung favorite ko. Pero Luka's one of my favorites. And yun nga lang yung ayaw ko rin sa kanya is yung pag nagte-technical siya. Like, why doesn't he just be like Jokic or something? Like, si Jokic nagre-reklamo din, pero hindi yun nakakainis. Yung si Luka kasi number one in tech.
Ulit no? Yeah.
Yun yung kailangan niya matutunan. And si Dirk, he guested somewhere na nung bata daw siya, ganun din daw siya. So si Luka, hopefully, sa The Ringer yata to The Ringer.
Maybe he'll learn, diba?
Yeah, maybe he'll learn when he's like 25 na daw, mga ganun.
That's true.
Be more mature. Pero
you can only hope.
You can only, as a Dallas fan, parang it doesn't affect him. And si Porzingis din, parang down year last year, lalo na nung playoff. So, kailangan niya mag-live up dun sa sweldo niya na napakalaki.
That's true.
Kasi nang magawa with him. But then before you go, I wanted to ask lang your thoughts on the PBA. Like, there was a few games before the hiatus now, and it's ECQ. It's kind of hard to hold any games anywhere in the Philippines with all the cases and all the new variants. But I wanted to ask if you have any updates on the PBA and what are your thoughts so far on the conference na maiksi pa lang?
It's very difficult to gauge anything really. Dun sa ganon kaliit na sample size, it's impossible to have an informed opinion kung sino yung magiging magaling na teams, because even the teams that added really good talent, even Ginebra, had its struggles, even SMB, diba, had its struggles. Now of course TNT is looking good, Magnolia's looking good because of Calvin Abueva, but it can change. Like, it means the first set of games, aside from what they mean in the win-loss tally, will be immaterial moving forward. Like, it will be a brand new, competition completely when they do resume. Syempre naririnig natin na Pampanga daw yung tinitignan nila as a possible spot where they could restart. But I think walang basis, walang bigat, walang weight yung nangyari na kung ano yung mangyayari in the future. But I'm really hoping that they get back into action, kasi it will help a lot of people stay entertained at home. Parang yun yung entire point ng bubble na parang if I'm doing something at home, if I'm watching the PBA, then the temptation of going out and not really having to go go out, you kind of lose it because you can stay at home, diba, for 4 hours per day, watch a couple of games in the PBA, diba, parang mas relax ka, may ginagawa ka, may pinag-uusapan kayo, may content kami sa 2OT, mga ganung bagay, diba? Just hoping that they get back into action rather quickly, because parang it would help, it would really help take our minds out of the situation that we're in right now.
How about your future plans naman with 2OT? Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, I don't know if I told you na before that I really watched it since the start. Like, halos lahat or all the episodes, I watch it during my free time. Like, kahit nagpe-play lang siya sa background. Ganun. Kasi pwede naman, like, if you're doing stuff sa bahay, like, it's just playing and you can still learn from the content that you guys were doing. So, what's your future plans naman with 2OT?
I think the challenge for us is to reinvent a little bit. Diba? Parang, we were one of the first to broadcast via Zoom, diba? And do it live on Facebook. And then when people started figuring out what to do with it, dumami na yung ganong, diba, conversations, the talking heads and everything. we were hopeful that we could have shot something in venue. Alam mo yun, magkasama kami ni Magu sa Inares or something. But of course, that situation would not allow that to happen. So I think it will have to evolve. It will have to change a little bit. We can still do the things that we normally do. We can still talk to people, do interviews, especially ngayon na semi-bubble yung planned sa Pampanga, so we can talk to people inside the bubble. But for the future of 2OT, I think it has to branch out a little bit. Kailangan naming hanap pa ng ibang avenues to create content that would be a little different from what everyone else is creating. So hindi pa namin alam kung anong gagawin namin. So we'll keep you posted. Hopefully in the near future we'll have something for you.
Yeah, it was really great na kayo nga yung isa sa mga pioneers. Like si Mix Bustos, he became my friend during the pandemic and he has his own YouTube channel, and he said na he learned and he was motivated to start his own channel nga because he watched 2OT, and I know other people that also enjoyed it. Lalo na nung start, you guys were having sila Polly, diba? Robert Pollick, sila Martin. Tapos si Ranidel, he announced his retirement yata in 2OT. Doon ko actually first narinig yung 2OT, and I started watching it. Then wala namang school nung time na yun. So I don't know kung every day ba kayo nagka-episode nung April, May.
Parang mga thrice a week siguro.
Yeah, parang every time na may live sila, Grand Slam of 1996 Alaska or something. And then
SMB Grand Slam. Yep.
Parang ang dami yung content doon. I was like, grabe, nakuha nila lahat ng guests. So it was really nice. Pero I took curious lang, isn't it hard like to get guests like live? Because I don't know, for me, I never tried live yet. It's just all like recorded.
It's a little more difficult lalo na pag multi-guest. Kasi normally naman, ginagawa namin is we set a time, tapos kung pwede ka, edi go. And then if hindi ka pwede, we'll adjust to whatever time you're available. But it becomes a little harder pag sabay, kunwari, yung ginawa namin na Alaska reunion. Ang hirap nun kasi yung iba nasa Pilipinas, yung iba nasa States, di ba? Parang it was a little difficult, but they wanted also to see each other. So parang they sorted it amongst themselves kung anong oras sila available, and then they made themselves available. But at the start kasi, I think the part of it was just missing human interaction because we're all stuck at home. So thankfully they were willing to also join us. And also a part of it, I think, is that they're comfortable with me and Magu, di ba? Parang dahil nakakausap naman namin sila sa PBA, they're a little more willing to be guests, to talk to people that they usually talk to anyway in the PBA. So it worked out.
Okay, so for the final portion of the interview, these are like fun questions lang to ask. So one of them is, what's your favorite moment in your whole Japan stay? Like maybe it's not related to you covering the game, or it was a story that wasn't in camera that you enjoyed talaga that you won't forget.
I think it was a moment after Hidilyn won yung national anthem.
Oh, okay.
Yung national anthem, because all of the Filipinos na nagtatrabaho sa Densu went to our room talaga. Parang they were allowed to leave their work for the meantime. Sige. Parang first nyo pala. Hindi rin nila alam. Parang, sige, first goal nyo pala. Go, be together. Parang pinabayaan nila kami to just enjoy that moment with each other. Tapos yung mga ibang friends pa nga namin, yung mga coworkers namin from Singapore, kinunan pa kami habang nag-play yung Lupang Hinirang. So I think that's a moment that I will really cherish, being in that situation with that team for that moment.
Yeah. So for the next question, this is from All the Smoke. I don't know if you watched that with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. They asked their guests in the end, if there were 5 dinner guests that you'd want dead or alive, who would you choose?
Tough. For sure, Dirk. For sure, Dirk. Boxing, I will have to go Muhammad Ali. Have to go Muhammad Ali. Who else? Kobe, for sure.
Yeah.
Tough. Dapat ba lang? Dapat ba sports lang? Hindi naman. Hindi naman.
Celebrities or, I don't know, artists.
Probably Freddie Mercury would be an interesting Would be an interesting guest. Parang bababaw na sagot ko, no? Parang
Okay lang,
hindi
mas
man,
all the other guests, yung mga girls na nag-guest ko, BTS nga yung mga sagot ko.
parang di man lang Nelson Mandela or
Yeah.
so,
One more.
so Dirk, Ali, Kobe. Let's take out Freddie Mercury. Let's put in Jordan and Carlisle. I really want to
Okay.
talk to Rick Carlisle. Like
Okay.
that's a dream interview. That's parang ano yun? Pangarap na interview. And if I could have a sit down with Rick Carlisle, that would be
Okay, so for
amazing.
the last question, I also asked my guests, like here, since nga DVD show, I don't really know that many people in the sporting industry, and I just message them and I invite them here to join me here in my podcast. So who are some of the guests from the sporting industry, maybe media personnel or athletes across any sport that you could suggest that I could invite here on my podcast that would get a great story also?
I've always had a good time talking to MMA fighters. I don't think they're covered enough. So if you could, talk to really smart guys like Edward Folayang is a spectacular interview. Jay Helios Takio, Brandon Vera, all of these MMA Filipino fighters are not getting the attention that they deserve. And I think that you would also learn a lot about them and about the sport talking to them.
Yeah, for sure. Kasi ako UFC and boxing like sa US lang yung mga mas kilala ko. Like yung mga popular ones like sila Canelo, ganun, sila G. Pero yeah, like sila Brandon Vera and the ones you were mentioning. I just know their name and what they do, but I don't know if you delve deeper into their lives or their journey. I don't know that much about them yet. So
like if you talk to Edward Folayang, like he will wow you with his intelligence, I swear. Like yung una ko rin siya na-interview, parang talino nitong tao. Parang parang yung iba kasi you feel that they prepare what they're going to say, pero yung sa kanya comes naturally. So I suggest you chase that interview.
Sige. So yeah, that's all the time that I have for you, Carlo, thank you for joining me here again on the DVD show. And I really enjoyed the conversation. I learned a lot from some of the perspectives that you gave, and those were some of the perspectives that you said were something I didn't really, notice or analyze on my own. So thank you for sharing it also to me and also to the audience when I post this. And thank you for the time for joining me here. And hopefully I could invite you also again for the future when there's new topics to talk about, like with basketball or anything else that you enjoy talking. If you enjoy talking about, I think like any sport talaga. So yeah, thank you for joining me here. And do you have a final message?
Sorry it took a lot of time. It took a couple of invites. I'm really sorry about that. But I'm thankful that you still gave me the opportunity to be here. And just for all the sports fans there are a lot of athletes that we can really support, we can really cheer for. So bawas on the hate, diba? Parang if you can't say anything positive, then just sarilihin mo na lang and just stay positive, stay supportive of all the athletes because they're all trying, diba? They all want to succeed, and it's not just for them, it's for the entire country. So for me, just keep supporting the athletes, just keep watching the games, learning the sport. That's really the best that you can do as a sports fan right now.
Yeah. Before you go, is it okay if we take a picture?
Sure.
Okay, I'll take it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much again,
All right,
Carlo, for
thank
joining
you.
me here on the DVD show. Yeah, stay safe.
Thank you.